Assalamualaikum, especially to my lecturer, Sir Reza Bustami. My name is Muhammad Faiz bin Zulkifli. I will presenting about my country, which is Indonesia, for IBM 536.
Here, fascinating indigenous folkways live through the test of time, emphasizing the resilience of local creativity and vigor. Magnificent divine temples adorn the landscape, as if forming an exhibition of pervasive spirituality. Religion has always been the cornerstone of life since ancient times. Indigenous wisdoms are traditionally practiced in pursuance of living in harmony with nature, filling the hearts of both hosts and visitors. Funeral rites is a festivity, as much as it is a celebration of life, an occasion to gather family members from all over the world. Rich architectural heritage, shaped by diverse cultural, historical, and geographical influences. Recognized as one of Indonesia's true national treasures. Today's legacy of art and craft continues to enrich the culture, playing a significant role in the daily and ceremonial life of the people. Adapting wonderful traditional art form to modern times, resulting in popular tourist attraction.
Did all of you know about Indonesia? Indonesia is the fourth largest country in the world by the population, stretching between the Indian and Pacific Ocean and dot with thousands of islands. The new country of East Timor, which was previously as a part of Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and Malaysia, are its nearest neighbor. It is an archipelago country with a land area of 1,905,000 square kilometer and a population of 17,508 people. It is divided into 33 provinces and is home to 242 million people. It extends for 5,000 kilometers along the equator, from the western tip of Sumatra to the eastern boundary of Papua. HOFSTEDE cultural dimension theory, developed by HOFSTEDE, is a framework used to understand the difference in culture across country and to discern the way that business is done across different culture. In other words, the framework is used to distinguish between different national culture, the dimension of culture, and assess their impact on a business setting. HOFSTEDE culture dimension theory was created in 1980 by Dutch management researcher HOFSTEDE. The aim of the study was to determine the dimension in which culture vary. So this is Indonesia HOFSTEDE graph, as we can see. Cultural value dimension has 6, which is power distance, individualism, masculinity, uncertainty avoidance, long-term orientation, and lastly indulgence. This dimension deals with the fact that all individuals in societies are not equal. It expresses the attitude of the culture toward the inequality among us. Power distance is defined as the extent to which the less powerful members of institution and organization within a country expect and accept that power is distributed unequally. Indonesia scored high on this dimension, which is 78, which means that the following characterize the Indonesian style: being dependent on hierarchy, unequal right between power holder and non-power holder, superior inaccessible, leader are directive, management control and delegates. Power is centralized and managers count on the obedience of their team members. Employees expect to be told what to do and when. Control is expected and managers are respected for their position. Communication is indirect and negative feedback hidden. High power distance also means that initial CEO co-worker would expect to be clearly directed by the boss or manager. It is the classic guru-student kind of dynamic that applies to Indonesia. Westerners may be considerably surprised with the visible, socially acceptable, wide and unequal disparity between rich and poor. The fundamental issue addressed by this dimension is the degree of interdependence a society maintains among its members. It has to do with whether people's self-image is defined in terms of I or we. In individualist societies, people are supposed to look after themselves and their direct family only. In collectivist societies, people belong to in-groups that take care of them in exchange for loyalty. Indonesia, with a low score of 14, is a collective society. This means there is a high preference for a strongly defined social framework in which individuals are expected to conform to the ideal of the society and the in-group to which they belong one place. This is visible clearly is in the aspect of the family in the role of relationship. For example, in Indonesia, if one wishes to marry, it is important to meet a woman's family because the family is so important to her. If a man wants to be taken seriously by a woman, he has to visit the latter family and introduce himself formally to the parent of the girl. It is inappropriate to court a woman and formalize the relationship without informing the parent of the girl first. A high score masculine on this dimension indicate that the society will be driven by competition, achievement and success, with success being defined by the winner, best in field. A value system that starts in school and continues through organizational life. A low score feminine on the dimension means that the dominant value in society are caring for others and quality of life. A feminine society is one where quality of life is the sign of success and standing out from the crowd is not admirable. The fundamental issue here is what motivates people wanting to be the best masculine or liking what you do feminine. Indonesia score 46 on this dimension and is thus considered low masculine, while not entirely like most North European countries who are very low in masculinity and thus considered feminine. Indonesia is less masculine than some other Asian countries like Japan, China, and India. In Indonesia, status and visible symbol of success are important, but it is not always material gain that bring motivation. Often, it is the position that a person holds which is more important to them because of an Indonesian concept called gengsi, loosely translated to be outward appearance. It is important that the gengsi be strongly maintained, thereby projecting a different outward appearance aimed at impressing and creating the aura of status. The dimension uncertainty avoidance has to do with the way that society deals with the fact that the future can never be known. Should we try to control the future or just let it happen? This ambiguity brings with it anxiety, and different cultures have learned to deal with this anxiety in different ways. the extent to which the member of a culture feel tricked by ambiguous or unknown situation and have great belief and institution that try to avoid this is reflected in the score on uncertainty avoidance. Indonesia score 48 on this dimension and thus has a low preference for avoiding uncertainty. This means that there is a strong preference in Indonesia toward the Javanese culture of separation of internal self from external self. When a person is upset, it is habitual for the Indonesian not to show negative emotion or anger externally. They will keep smiling and be polite no matter how angry they are inside. This also means that maintaining workplace and relationship harmony is very important in Indonesia, and no one wish to be the transmitter of bad or negative news or feedback. This dimension describes how every society has to maintain some link with its own past while dealing with the challenge of the present, and future. And societies prioritize these two existential goals differently. Normative society which score low on this dimension, for example, prefer to maintain time honor, tradition and norm while viewing societal change with suspicion. Those with a culture which score high, on the other hand, take a more pragmatic approach. They encourage thrift and effort in modern education as a way to prepare for the future. Indonesia high score of 62 indicates that it has a pragmatic culture. In societies with a pragmatic orientation, people believe that truth depends very much on situation, context and time. They show an ability to adapt tradition easily to change condition, a strong propensity to save and invest, thriftiness and perseverance in achieving result. One challenge that confronts humanity now and in the past is the degree to which small children are socialized. Without socialization, we do not become human. This dimension is defined as the extent to which people try to control their desire and impulse based on the way they were raised. Relatively weak control is called indulgent, and relatively strong control is called restraint. Culture can therefore be described as indulgent or restraint. The low score of 38 in this dimension shows that Indonesia has a culture of restraint. Society with a low score in this dimension have a tendency to cynicism and pessimism. Also, in contrast to indulgent society, restrained society do not put much emphasis on leisure time and control the gratification on their desire. People with this orientation have the perception that their actions are restrained by social norm and feel that indulging themselves is something wrong.